to hit the record button. Hi, everyone. This is our trip class number 5 for the Alaska adventure, which is only a few weeks away. Now, I have to tell you, my lovely friend Dawn Campbell is here from Visit Anchorage to talk with us again about some really cool stuff with Alaska, which I'm equally as excited about, actually. But one of the cool things is we're going in a week ahead of you guys. So we're actually flying at the end of June, and we're staying with Dawn and just going out there to spend some time with them before the trip. And I'm so excited, Dawn. I can hardly stand it. And it's not because you got a new puppy. You know what I'm saying?
He's here. He might pipe in here any minute.
He might show up. But yeah, right now I love the puppy. After a week of staying with them, I'll let you guys know if I still love the puppy. Yeah. So I can't believe it's just a couple of weeks away. And usually when it gets to be a couple of weeks away, when we have a big trip like this, we have a lot of different personalities. So we have, some people that are still nose to the grindstone and they're literally not going to pack until the night before they leave. And then we have other people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've researched everything, and they pepper us with 1,000 questions, which we love you just as much. And then we have other people that the stress begins to set in, that the fear of I'm not going to have something. Oh my gosh, I've laid everything out and I have 15 suitcases, those kind of things. So I want to put your mind at ease when we're still about 4 weeks out now. We're going to cover I got a couple things I want to show you on the packing side of things, but next class, which is 2 weeks before we go, I will go over it all again. Nothing new. I'm going to give you the same thing I'm showing you now, but just that idea. And if I have my act together, I'll show you what I'm packing, but I can pretty much promise you it's less than what you're packing, because I've done a lot of traveling. So I want you to trust me when I tell you, you can pack so much lighter than you think you can. And we fear pack, as if you watch some of our YouTube things on packing, you'll see what I mean. People tend to fear pack. So if you haven't been to that area before and the climate is different than where you live, which for most of us it is, you're going to pack out of fear. If I get cold, I need to have. If if this might happen, I want to have this. What if there's a dress up night? What if there's whatever? And then the next thing you know, you have too much in your suitcase. So I can promise you, unless these were recorded and you could actually see the shirt I'm wearing, you have absolutely no idea if I've worn this shirt every time we've been together. And that's what it's going to be like on the trip. So you don't have to worry about what you're wearing and that, oh my goodness, I've worn this 3 times. You can rinse it out in the sink and hang it up if you need to, but chances are you're not even going to need to do that. So I want to put your mind at ease a little bit with the packing stuff. And I want to show you these again. I think I showed them in a previous class, but when we're talking about shoes, remember, and Dawn's going to speak into this, jump in anytime. We're going to like the rainforest region. So what I want you to go thinking is plan on 100% chance of rain every day that we're going somewhere. Because if your rain jacket is I bring this little soft bag with me that I fold up in my backpack or my day pack. If your rain jacket is with you every single day and whatever shoes you have on your feet can handle getting wet, you're set. That's really all you need. So I tend to wear these. Let me hit my little attend button here. I like these simply because I live in Florida. I don't live up north where some of you guys live. So they're very thin on the inside as far as the filler goes, or the lining. But these are super comfortable to wear when we're hiking or any of that. When I was with Dawn last April and I was out there for 5 weeks, I wore these almost the entire time. I did bring sneakers, and I had a couple of occasions that I wore them, but they got wet. So, I mean, that we walked in places that were muddy hikes, right, Dawn? Portage Pass. So yep. They worked great. They just got wet. So keep that in mind. If you have a pair of waterproof shoes, great. If you don't have a pair of waterproof shoes, you will still have an absolutely amazing time. You'll just have to navigate a little bit easier around the rain and the mud, The 3 other pieces I want to show you, and again, I think I've showed you this before. This is a little shell. I call it a shell, but it's basically like a super thin long underwear shirt. And I do mean super thin, like you can actually see right through it. So it helps you when you're layering and you don't want to bring a lot of clothes. You can find them on Amazon. And Dawn, if you have another magic word for it, I don't know what you call it, but it's just that under layer. Then it's super easy to pack because it rolls up into this little tiny ball you can stuff in your shoe. But it's a great layer thing. And I was talking to my mother-in-law.
If you look it up on REI, just look up base layer or
yeah.
on Amazon, base layer clothing.
Okay.
And you need like for very, very thin base layer clothing.
Yeah, especially because it does get warm. I remember zipping off my pants half the time when we were down riding bikes or whatever. And then when we were out in the woods, or I'd get a little chilly in the morning. And then, as long as you have a layer that you're able to take off. And I was going to tell you, I was talking to my mother-in-law today and she's like, now sweatshirts. So yes to sweatshirts, except keep in mind they're bulky. So most of you guys are on a 12-day trip. 11-day, but picture 12. So the day that you're flying, what I always try to do is the fly days, wear the same outfit, just plan for the same comfy outfit because you're going to be flying a long time. So that's one outfit on both ends. And then you've got the days that you're actually there. So if you are going to bring one sweatshirt should be fine, but definitely no more than two. Because that's if you never did a stitch of laundry or wiped off the chocolate you got on the front of it or whatever. I'm not doing any laundry. There's no laundry on the cruise. You'll probably have access to laundry at the 5 days when we're in Denali, but you're a couple of days into your trip, so you're not going to need it. I would just plan on little, spot cleaning the stuff that you have and relaxing because we're all going to love you, whether you smell or not. Basically how that rolls out. The two big pieces I want you to keep in mind as I knock all the papers off my desk. This is a puffy. And I think we got this on Amazon for $35. And this jacket could walk around by itself. I have worn this literally all over the globe. And it is a very inexpensive jacket. It's not very thick lined. It rolls up into a little ball that goes right here in the pocket. And it is literally this big around. So it is my favorite layer because when I'm starting to get really cold, like we're transitioning into the evening hours now. Well, I was going to say when the sun goes down, which isn't going to happen in Alaska. But when you start to get chilly, you have the other layers on, right? Now, when you put that one on, it's going to really hold you warmer for a while. And then you'll see when we start showing you some of the pictures we'll be posting on like Facebook and promotions and stuff of last year's Alaska, you'll say, wow, Jen was much heavier last year, which I was actually. But part of that was because I was so layered. In all those pictures that you're going to see me, I look like 4 times bigger than everyone else because I have my puffy underneath this is a big rain jacket. And I think Tom got this one for me. Yeah, he got this one from REI. But let me admit here. This is one of those long rain jackets that goes long to like the center of your leg kind of thing. Of good rain jacket. And it's not just for rain. It's for wind. It's for cold. It literally kept me warm the entire time I was out there. So key pieces are waterproof shoes, good rain jacket, puffy that doesn't have to be like a special order, anything expensive. That was $35 from Amazon. And I think it's called Want Do. Let me just see here. Yeah, Want Do, WANTDO. I don't know what that means. And then one kind of a thin under layer. And I don't think you need it for pants because pants, you have blue jeans, you have probably a set of waterproof pants or some kind of khaki pants. So Dawn, you think that's about right as far as what to bring?
Yeah, and I would also just say I know some of you are doing a helicopter tour and, going up on glaciers. And if you have a bright colored coat, like Jen's red raincoat, like really stood out in the pictures. But if you do have a brighter color coat that you can bring with you or a windbreaker raincoat that's bright, it really does pop in pictures all over the state, no matter where you are. If it's a bright color, it's going to pop we have so much earth tones here, with the trees and the water and the snow. you'll definitely want to bring a bright color if you have it. If not a coat, maybe a really bright colored long sleeve, shirt.
Yeah. All right, so that's your travel tips for packing. And if you need to, if you're, packing on the weekend and you're not quite sure of something, go ahead and snap a picture, text it to me and say, I was thinking about this. Don't drive me crazy with 900 texts of everything in your suitcase. But if you have a quick question, don't feel funny. I know your brain's there and you're already thinking it and that sort of thing. So feel free to ask. I don't want anybody stressing about it, because no matter what, the magic to a group trip is you can always borrow something from somebody. So it works out great. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. The temperature is going to be wonderful, and the rain we're going to welcome because of just the scenery that you have. I have a client leaving tomorrow. It's her son's graduation present, and he's a big World War II fan. So they're heading out there tomorrow. And I'm just so excited for them, because I've never been to Alaska. I've never seen it before. And I was telling her, just driving down the road, you're going to be like, oh my goodness. I mean, it's just, you don't need to be doing anything. It's just an amazing state. So the clothes that you bring are going to work just fine. Okay. Now let's talk about, I got to give you some travel updates, and I posted this on Facebook a couple of hours ago, if you want to watch it there. We are having such an issue with flights right now, you guys, and it's not specific to anybody. So whether you booked through Princess, whether you booked your flights independently, whether you are using points, it doesn't matter how you're booking right now, the airline industry is a mess. So what we're seeing, and this is our clients that are doing river cruises in different parts of Europe. I had a Peru client that had a mess in Denver coming back in, or Dallas coming back in. It doesn't matter where you're going. Cruises, tours, personal vacations, the airlines are all about delays and cancellations right now. So the biggest encouragement I want to give you is, there's a lot of us on this trip, but I want you to be thinking, if you're coming in a day before the trip. I know a lot of you are coming in around July 4th is the big day for most people coming in. That's perfect. July 4th is perfect. But what you need to keep in mind is that flights are canceling also. So depending on where you're coming from, if it's not a major hub where there's lots of flights and things like that, there's a chance that if they cancel, that's going to be an issue. And I'm bringing it to your attention because I can't tell you how many trips this is affecting right now. And it's driving us all a little crazy, but there's nothing we can do about it. So just for you guys to be thinking along the same lines, try to come in a day early if you can. I know some of you can't because there either isn't hotel availability now, or it bumps the price too high, whatever. But if you can't, there's two things I want you to bring with you: patience and grace. And I talk about this again in the trip update video that I posted today. Everybody is short-staffed, including us, right? I still don't have my lovely assistant sitting across from me. It's putting all of us, the 5 of us that are in the agency, behind, because we're at full capacity with the client bookings we have right now. Plus, literally, like in the last day, we've gotten 5 calls from just Google searches, because there is such a huge number of people that are like, I think I want to travel next week, literally. And they're like, oh, we just booked flights to Europe and we don't have anything planned. Can you help us? And they're leaving like the 15th. So we can't even help them because there's not enough hours in the day. And that's what's happening with the airlines. They just keep booking those tickets and they just keep booking those flights, but they don't have the staff and they're not able to support with their booking. And when that happens, whether it's a transfer company, a cruise line, whoever, when you get there and you've spent a lot of money for a trip, you're bent because they either can't get you there on time or the service is kind of not what you expected. So grace and patience need to get packed this trip, and pretty much every trip you take, I think, until next fall, because I think it's going to take us another year to get under us. Don't you think, Dawn?
I think so. I mean, we're seeing definitely a higher service level this summer already than we were last year with the staffing shortages. But there are still many people looking for workers up here And again, yeah, you all have been practicing patience, I'm sure, visiting restaurants and everything else that you've been doing since the pandemic started. So just, yeah, keep that in mind. And, you know, whenever something's not quite going right, just look around and enjoy the view, and just know that you're in a beautiful place, and, you know, we'll all get there.
Yeah, it will get better. I know it will get better, because whenever you go somewhere, they're so excited you're there. They're so thankful you're traveling. There just isn't enough of them to service the number of people that are traveling. So they're just doing the best they can. But we're seeing it literally from the luxury sandals lines all the way down to budget. So it really doesn't matter how much money people are spending. We're still having that. So that's just one thing I want you to keep in the back of your mind. And I've asked on a email, I want you guys to set up an appointment time with me on my calendar, just so we can go over your trip, do your trip expenses. And this is the big one, match what your travel insurance is. Because when these things happen, like we're dealing with every day, the total trip cost needs to include your flights and your excursions and that sort of thing. Because when you file a claim, you know, right now, all they care about is the dollar amount that you're going to do and the dates that you're going. Well, if you didn't include your flight, it's really going to be this date and this date, or you know what I mean? So I want to set time with each one of you that we can focus, look at what those are, go over any trip expenses, and make sure that the travel insurance matches that literally 2 weeks before we leave, because it cuts off like 2 days before you leave, and then we can't make any changes to it at all. And it'll just give you peace of mind. I want to talk about one thing to do with excursions. A lot of people booked through Shore Excursions Group, our third-party vendor, who we love. They're doing a great job, overtaxed like the rest of us are. But basically, this is a third-party company, just like Princess. They're going to the vendors in Alaska and saying, hey, we want this dog sledding tour. We want this White Pass Summit Railroad or whatever. And they have booking systems in place. And I know with some of you guys, Diane, I think you were one of them. There was one of them that had like an emergency notice come through that said, and I think that was from Princess, that said, we've basically canceled this trip for you and booked you on another trip because the supplier couldn't accommodate. And we were like, what? Because you guys didn't get the notice and my notice went to spam. So then we had to go back in and go, hey, what? So be looking is what I'm telling you. As we get closer to the day and everybody's putting their numbers together, hiccups like that can happen. And between us, let's keep looking and seeing that everything is going the way it's supposed to. One more thing on travel insurance. With the, I'm going to use White Pass Summit Railroad as an example. When you buy the excursions from any third-party company, in this case, it was Shore Excursions Group, the little pop-up window comes up and says, do you want to add travel protection? Or I can't remember what their wording is for that, but it's like, do you want to add, you know, travel protection? And they charge, I think, like $20 or something for that. That really is not comprehensive travel protection. And the reason I'm telling you that is because I asked her to like give it to me in a description. Let me just see if I can find it for you. I'll find it and I'll give it to you at the end when after Dawn's done. But there's wording basically about that travel protection and what it does cover and what it doesn't cover. And the part I want you to know is if you had to cancel your trip, it would cover you. So you get your refund back for that excursion that you paid, but that's a couple $100. Okay. If you injured yourself while you're on that trip, on that excursion, if you had an emergency while you're on that excursion, you fell, whatever, you are not covered. That $20 thing you bought protects you for that excursion price, allowing you to be able to like refund it or whatever it is. I'll read it to you later. Here it is. But it's not comprehensive medical. So I know I drive this home, but you got to just bear with me because I'm a tour operator and I'm very used to seeing problems that people don't have covered. So you want to make sure that you're covered, you know? So here's what she said. Our excursion protection plan will cover only for the below reasons and passengers should be able to show proof of it. This plan offers you peace of mind that you will receive a full refund for your shore excursion in the event of unforeseen circumstances prevent you from participating. This includes medical issue, any illness, injury, or other medical issue which prevents you from participating. An example of that would probably be you don't feel well when you wake up when we're in Skagway and you're going to stay on the ship. You're not going to go. Transportation difficulties, any airline, car, bus, train, or other transportation problem that causes you to miss the start of your tour. This one would be if in Anchorage, you bought a helicopter tour through Shore Excursions Group. That would cover if you weren't able to make it, you know, it covers you for a full refund of that shore excursion. Ship boarding problems, if you're denied boarding by your cruise line due to insufficient documentation, immigration or visa issues, or any other reason, as a result, you miss the port where your excursion is scheduled. So kind of the same thing as the one before. And then the other one says visa or passport problems. You're not permitted to debark the ship in the port where the excursion is scheduled, which would be like Vancouver, you know? So just want you to keep in mind that while those little radio check boxes or buttons are always there, they are not protecting you for full coverage. And when you're going someplace remote, that's usually what you need, you know? So anyway, that's my little song and dance that I know you've all heard before. So I'm going to move it over to Dawn now so she can tell us all more wonderful things about Alaska. And there's one, when you want to mention this.
Oh, yes.
Just go ahead and mention it.
I'm not sure if I have a picture of one in my presentation. We'll see as we get through this, but well, everyone, yeah, thank you again. I see some familiar names and familiar faces. So I know some of you have seen my last presentation, and those of you that aren't on live, I'm sure you saw the recording, but we were really talking about what you're going to see and what you're going to be doing and what there is available to you when you come this summer. But what I want to touch on a little bit is the fact that Jen will be planning a winter, it's already in the works, trip for next year for the Iditarod. And the Iditarod is near and dear to my heart. Not because I've ever mushed in it. It's a long 1,000-mile dog sled race, but because I've been watching it since I was a very small child. I've been watching the Iditarod my whole life, and it is just fascinating. So not that this whole trip revolves around the Iditarod, but it's a big part of it. So what I'm going to talk about, and you can see it on the screen, is Aurora season. And we like to say that because Aurora season is really from late August to late April. So it covers all the rest of the year that we don't call summer. So instead of saying winter, we're going to say Aurora season. And then, and I thought this was kind of a fun play on words, snow much fun. Not that there's snow August through April, but there is definitely snow a good portion of our non-summer months. So what I want to touch on first, of course, those of you that don't know who I am already, this is me, Dawn Campbell. I work for Visit Anchorage. I'm a tourism sales manager, so I talk to not only individual travelers that are at maybe consumer shows that we attend, but I also talk to people like Jen, travel advisors, and also tour operators. So people that are looking to put together tours, maybe multiple tours that are visiting us many times a year. This is just a bunch of pictures of me out doing what I love to do. I tried to change it up a little bit this time. Of course, I have my plane there, which is not a winter picture in that specific one, but the others are all mostly taken in the winter time. And you can see that I just love to get out and enjoy the outdoors. That is what there is a lot of here in Alaska, and it's really what we're going to focus on today is what you can do in Alaska in the winter. I took my little puppy this last weekend. We flew out to Lake Clark, which is one of the national parks here in Alaska. My husband held the puppy on his lap, and we took him out there to see what Lake Clark. Neither of us had ever been there, and it was just absolutely stunning. So Alaska continues to blow my mind, even though I live here and breathe here every single day. So
how many national parks are out there?
Oh gosh, well, Lake Clark there's 8 in Alaska, but Lake Clark National Park and Katmai National Park are both down like towards the Aleutian Islands. So it's actually in the Aleutian Mountains range. So we flew through the Lake Clark Pass, which I guess can be very treacherous, but on the day we flew, it was absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, so that's where Tom and I did the bear viewing, the final bear viewing with Lake Clark. It's like no one lives there. I mean, it's like so uninhabited, and
It's
Beautiful.
absolutely stunning. And we went to just this really cool little town, and Port Allsworth is what it's called. It's on Lake Clark. It's actually on the lake. And we flew in, landed right on the runway there. And anyway, it was stunning. But my husband's on crutches, so it was not as stunning as I would have liked. I would have liked to go on hiking and all sorts of things, but we'll have to wait for his foot to heal. So again, I represent Anchorage and South Central Alaska. Visit Anchorage is the marketing hand for Anchorage. So basically we get a portion of a bed tax, and we promote Anchorage as a place to visit and a place to stay. But we certainly don't expect people to come on their vacation and spend their entire trip in Anchorage. That is absolutely not what we're promoting. But we like to tell people about what there is to see and do here, because some people think it's just a place to land and then take off from. Honestly, people tell me that they're cruising to Alaska, and I say, oh, where are you cruising into? Just trying to figure out which port they're cruising. They're like, oh, we're going from Vancouver to Anchorage. I was like, well, you're not actually cruising to Anchorage, but you get the picture. They kind of put it on there that way on the itineraries. Now, first thing we like to cover is where Alaska is. And I know we covered this last time, but just a quick reminder, Alaska is connected to North America via land. Canada is in between the US and the 48 states and Alaska. And we're a lot farther north than people expect, because a lot of times they take Alaska and they shrink it down and put it out floating in the ocean near Hawaii, just so that you can still see all the detail for the rest of the 48 states that we tend to call the lower 48. So if you hear someone in Alaska saying that, the lower 48, that's what we're talking about, these 48 contiguous states. And just as a quick reminder, here's where Anchorage is located. And South Central Alaska, I'm going to show you on the next map, is a fairly good sized region. So you can see these white lines kind of divide the regions on this map. And I really like this one because it shows the extent of our highway system in Alaska. All these black lines are highways. You can see this dotted line is the Arctic Circle that cuts through far north and just a piece of the interior of Alaska. And a southwest, of course. So you can see here's Lake Clark, just straight to the left of Kenai, there in Lake Clark National Park and Preserve. So it's very, very easy to do a day trip from Anchorage. If you are coming in early and you don't already have something booked, it's very easy to book that with Jen, to do a day trip over to Lake Clark or whatever it is that you want to see and do. Most of those are probably booked up by now for seeing bears, because July is absolutely peak season for seeing bears down at Katmai and Lake Clark. It's when the red salmon start running, and those bears are just feasting. So again, I just wanted to show just this quick view of what we're covering. Mostly what I talk about is South Central Alaska, so this region here. And now on your trip, you will also see a little bit of the interior, because you're going up to, if you're doing the pre-trip, you'll see Denali. And then of course, you're going to see Southeast Alaska, or what we call the Inside Passage. Beautiful, beautiful regions. And every part of Alaska looks very, very different. So it's fun to see multiple different places while you're here. Now, temperature and daylight. I like to go over this because we're talking about aurora season, right? So I like to show you April and August. So we're looking anything in between that, all of these months down here on the lower side of the circle. We finally get to the point where we have enough darkness that it's actually possible to see the northern lights. Right now, I couldn't see the northern lights if I wanted to in any way, shape, or form, because I was outside at 2 o'clock in the morning last night and I could still see the sun setting. So it's just going to be bright when you're here. And it unfortunately, in this time on this specific trip, you are not going to see the northern lights. I can guarantee you that.
However, we have to come back.
If you come back, and please do, because you will absolutely have an amazing time. There is a very, very good chance, especially in March, that you will see the northern lights. Now, March and September tend to be the two peak months for aurora activity, and that is simply because the sun has a lot of action going on in those 2 months. It's when the sun is pointing towards the earth in the most direct sense that those particles that are shooting off the sun that causes the northern lights, they happen more often in September and March. So those are very good months, although we've seen aurora very good in all these other winter months as well. So just so you can see here, in March, when this trip is planned, when Jen is planning to come in February and March here, you'll see that our average temperatures aren't quite as low as what you would expect. Now, these temperatures are specific to Anchorage. So up in Fairbanks, it's going to be quite a bit colder than this. But here in Anchorage, we're just hovering just below or just above the freezing mark. So those are average temperatures. By the end of March, it's quite a bit warmer. And of course, in early February, it might be quite a bit colder. But looking at late February and early March, when the Iditarod happens, you're looking at some really long daylight hours and really, really manageable temperatures. I've never had a client up here on or a guest up here in the winter saying, I just was freezing the whole time. You dress right. You can rent your clothes that you need to wear, so you don't have to buy gear that you're never going to use again, unless you go to Iceland or something. But you can easily be very comfortable on your entire trip to Alaska. No problem. Now, of course, Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is the best way to get here in the winter. We don't obviously have cruises in the winter because the Gulf of Alaska gets very unruly in the winter months. It's uncomfortable for people to go on a cruise anytime past mid-September coming across the Gulf. They've tried to extend into October, and it is just not enjoyable for people. So Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is a wonderful hub for us. And as I mentioned last time, our planes fly in and out in no matter what the weather, as long as one of our volcanoes doesn't explode. We have flights coming in and out every single day. I swear sometimes they can't, I know they can't see the runway because it's snowing sideways, but they can still land. They have the equipment that they need with Alaska Airlines, American Airlines, Delta, United, all the major carriers that come to Alaska in the winter are perfectly capable of landing here. We are the second largest cargo hub in North America and the fourth largest in the world. So we have cargo flights coming in and out every single day, up to 150 a day. So lots and lots of planes coming in and out of Anchorage. So you be assured that you will be able to get here in the winter, no problem. And one of my favorite things to talk about in the winter is that the train does run year round. It just doesn't go down to Seward or cruise ports in the winter. It goes from Anchorage up to Fairbanks and back. And that's called the Aurora Winter Train. So I'm sure Jen will probably have this somewhere in the itinerary.
There has to be train. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's like real life Polar Express. I mean, you're going through like the most magical winter wonderland. It's absolutely fantastic just to see. It's a lot different experience than you see in the summer, but it is really one thing that you want to keep on your list of to-dos because it's really, really fun. Now you can also dine in an igloo while you're here in Anchorage. I love to put this picture up. This is at the Inlet Tower, which is an older hotel down here in downtown Anchorage, but they have these really cool private dining igloos. They can fit up to 6 people in each, and it's just a really great food and a fun place to go dine in an igloo. And they have these really cool lights inside and heaters. We were in there and it really, really cold outside, and we were roasting warm inside. So kind of fun to dine in an igloo while you're here. But what I'm getting at is that even in the winter months, we have wonderful, wonderful food and beverage available to all that visit. Our seafood can be enjoyed year round. So they definitely have seafood, whether it's Winter King or some sort of shrimp or crab or different things like that. So Alaskan seafood can be enjoyed year round. And there's lots of really great warm and inviting comfort food to eat all throughout Anchorage. So our restaurants stay open here in Anchorage. There are some places in the state that do kind of shut down for the winter. And that would be like, for instance, Denali Park, that area, that entrance area where you all are going to be the folks that are coming on the pre-cruise trip, where you're going to be staying at the hotels there. Those hotels all shut down for the winter, but there is still some things to do in the park. And there are tours that go there to experience like dog sledding and things like that. And of course, you still have access to all of our wonderful microbrews and distilleries and cider breweries that make wonderful locally made beverages for you. So lots and lots of places to eat and drink. That's nothing to worry about in the winter. It's definitely, I would say, even more enjoyed in the winter because you spend some time inside doing that. I like the same topic we talked about last time, but this time our Mild to the Wild and Find Your Adventure, we're going to be talking about what you can do here in the winter. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been ice fishing, but I love it. It's so fun. And this is really mild. So when I go mild to the wild, I'm really talking about something that doesn't take a whole lot of energy. The owner of the bait shack downtown Anchorage will come out. He'll take you out to a lake, set up the ice hut for you. You have seats in there and a heater, and he'll even let you try the ice auger, drill your own hole, and catch some local trout here in our Anchorage lakes. So this is really fun experience. If you haven't done it before, if you haven't lived in a northern climate where you can go ice fishing, it is something really, really fun to experience, and a low cost, excursion that you could do very easily.
Don't want to do it because we're renting the clothes anyway.
Yes. Well, you'll be surprised when you're in that ice shack. You really don't need your coat on. You'll be warm sitting there like ice fishing. It's really kind of a fun thing to say that you got to do while you're in Alaska. Well, now I don't have a whole lot of fall pictures in this presentation. I want you to know that no matter what time of year you're here, you can always rent a bike. All winter, all summer, all fall and spring. One of our members is Pablo's Bike Rental, and this is a group of agents we had up here in September there, but you can rent electric assist mountain bikes. You can rent regular mountain bikes, fat tire bikes. You can get out and enjoy these beautiful bike paths no matter what time of year. And I promise these are really, really stable fat tire bikes. And I had folks go out with us last winter on these that hadn't ridden a bike in over 30 years, and they were 100% able to do it. So really, really fun way to get out and explore the trails in the winter. And when I say from the mild to the wild, you can stay on the trails, or you can head out with a guide and get some more backcountry experience on those fat tire bikes, which are really, really popular up here. You'll see them all over Alaska. I promise, even on your trip up here this summer, you will see fat tire bikes. People ride them even in the summertime. Now, if you're not really wanting to get on some sort of a vehicle and you want to do more foot-powered excursions, of course, snowshoeing is something that I would say is a do not miss when you're in Alaska in the winter. These ladies in this picture were from North Carolina, California, Texas. Actually, two of them were from California and one from Florida. And they were almost insistent that they weren't going to put these snowshoes on. And I convinced them. I said, no, you really just got to try it. So we finally got them all strapped into their snowshoes. And our guide was a really awesome gentleman named Matt with Go Hike Alaska. And we're up at Flat Top Mountain. And I promise you, as soon as we took off into that beautiful snow, they scattered like cats. And I was like, oh my gosh, they were having so much fun. They were taking pictures and all over the place. And again, this is an activity that you basically just need to know how to walk to do this. So it's very, very easy, beautiful, beautiful scenery and some amazing pictures that you can get on snowshoes. And I would say it's a very affordable activity as well. So really fun way to get out with a guide. Go Hike Alaska, and Jen can book that again for you while you guys are here. Now, some people are avid skiers, maybe Nordic skiers, or you grew up skiing. It's very possible to rent skis here in Anchorage and use them on our trails or up at Flat Top. And if you want to do a little bit more backcountry, if you're here maybe before or after the group and you want to get out and experience some of your own Nordic skiing, of course, that's available. That's out at Portage Glacier, just skiing out across the lake. And if you're interested in downhill skiing, Alyeska Resort is our largest ski resort in Alaska. Now, I know I mentioned Alyeska in our last presentation, but here's a picture of it in the winter. It's near and dear to my heart because I grew up in Eagle River, but I basically grew up when I moved to Girdwood in 1994, and I lived there for 19 years. I worked at the resort for 15 years, and it's a fantastic place for downhill skiing. You guys are going to see this in the summer, in the winter. It's a wonderful place to go. Downhill skiing is for some and not for others, but they have lots and lots of terrain here, lots of lifts, beautiful tram to the top of the mountain. And for those of you that don't ski, you can go to Alyeska and enjoy their brand new Nordic spa. They have the largest Nordic spa in North America. It just opened last month. It's absolutely stunning. I wish I had some pictures.
Have you gone?
I haven't got to go inside and experience the pools and things yet. And they're just finished with phase 1. But all the pictures I've seen are just stunning. And I've been outside the building and looking in, but they had clients inside. And so they were trying not to have a tour go through. But anyway, it is something to experience for sure. It's something you got to book.
Alyeska Ski
Nordic Spa. Yeah.
But what's the resort called?
Alyeska Ski Resort.
Yeah, that
And
we
it's
stayed there
phenomenal.
when I was out there, and oh my word, just the pictures of that Nordic spa made me want to come in the wintertime. And I'm going to try to get us, I don't know how they're putting together the itinerary, but I want one night there.
Absolutely.
Because they could get a day in skiing, they could do the Nordic spa, and they could do it as they wanted to. So it wouldn't raise your trip price. You could just get what you want if you wanted to add it to your trip. Yeah,
and it's the Nordic spas, they do sell a separate entrance fee into the Nordic spa. It's not included in the hotel, but the hotel has a beautiful, I'll show you here in a second, a picture of the pool there. Now, this is a great place to learn to ski too. They have some really easy trails. So if you've never been on skis before, maybe it's something you want to try. But the resort also rents out snowshoes and cross-country skis, which just about anyone could do. Again, cross-country skiing is very easy. You basically need to know how to walk and be a little bit coordinated with the poles and the skis, and you can actually do it. So, but you see that little girl there in the picture, she's pointing out towards the ocean. That is Turnagain Arm. So this is a beautiful ski resort. They get over 700 inches of snow per year. So that's a lot of snow. And the base is only 250 feet above sea level where the first lifts start. So you can see this is an area of Alaska where we get a lot of snow. It's only 45-minute drive from downtown Anchorage. And I promise you, we've never seen that kind of snow in Anchorage. Our record's about 130 inches in 1 year. So beautiful, beautiful snowy winter wonderland down in Girdwood. And of course, some people like to go and just enjoy the views and the sights. So you can take the tram up and dine at the Seven Glaciers or the Bortide Deli and Cafe and Bar, or you can just go up and see the Roundhouse Museum that's there and watch people skiing if you'd like. But beautiful, beautiful views from the top of Mount Alyeska. And here's that pool I was talking about. This is a beautiful saltwater pool. This is included with the resort. It's the Nordic spa that's not included and is a little bit extra price, but I'm sure Jen can get that all figured out for you all. At the very end of the pool down here, you see there's this little separate spot. That's a 16-person whirlpool. Beautiful, beautiful teak furniture. There's a really nice fitness center and sauna, and it's just beautiful. Downstairs, they have really nice dressing rooms and men's and women's locker rooms. So really, really nice, connected into the hotel. Now, glaciers in the winter. Well, this is one of my favorite things to visit in the winter, actually. And it's so unique that you get to experience them so differently than you do in the summer. Now, this is the Matanuska Glacier, and you can actually go hiking out there in the winter. They take you down to the glacier across the lake on like a snow machine pulling these really cute little, they look like Santa sleds. They're really fun, and they're all attached, so it looks like a train. But you head out to the glacier and you get to walk between the crevasses, and you're with a guide the whole time. So it's really, really beautiful. And the glaciers might not look quite as blue at first sight when you see them in the winter, because they're covered in snow. Once that snow melts in the summer, like how you're going to see them this summer, you're going to see they're going to look really, really blue. People are often surprised they don't look quite as blue in the winter, and that's because there's snow sitting on top of them. Now, there's a lot of ways to get out and view the glaciers. This was actually a trip in March that I took with a bunch of travel advisors from all over the world. Everyone in this picture is from a different country. They landed us with a helicopter right on the frozen lake, and we walked inside these crevasses and got really close to this beautiful, stunning blue ice. So I want you to know that it is possible to do helicopter trips and helicopter glacier landings in the winter as well. Now, another one of my favorite things to do in the winter is go on, Alaskans call them snow machines. I'm not sure why, but most places call them snowmobiles. And snow machine trips are really, really fun. With a guide, they can teach you exactly how to ride. It's very, very safe. They give you the gear you need to go, including helmets and gloves and all the gear you need to wear to stay nice and warm while you're out there, boots, everything. And one of my favorite places to go on snowmobiles is out to Spencer Glacier. Now, in this picture, you see these are all snowmobiles right here in front of the glacier. I'll show you a little bit more of a close-up. So my husband and I rode out there, and there's people out there on a tour, and we were able to take those pictures. But again, you get very, very close to this glacier. This is Spencer Glacier, which you will see on, well, if you're riding the train down to Seward, if you are on a train, you're not going out of Seward, you're going out of Whittier. Right. So this is a place in Alaska that you can only get to in the summer by train. And in the winter, you can only get there if you have a fat tire mountain bike or skis, or you go on a snowmobile tour. So it's not accessible from the road, but it's really, really worth going. Once you get out to the glacier, you get to, again, walk with the guides into these crevasses that are safe, and you actually can touch the glacier, which is really, really phenomenal. Now, another see
these pictures from Spencer.
They're so fun. Another one of my favorite ways to see glaciers, and this is sort of I would say it's close to year round, but there is a certain portion of the year, like December, January, November, December, late November, December, January, and early February, where it is just not pleasant to be out on the water. Now, this is Blackstone Glacier out of Prince William Sound, and this is Lazy Otter Charters. They are absolutely fantastic. Beautiful small boat tour excursions, and this picture was taken in March, early March. So this was our Iditarod fam a couple years ago. All travel related people. They're real fun to be out there and see what they can sell for their clients. This is a picture I took with my cell phone off the back of the boat just last March. And here's a picture of the boat. So when you go out in the winter months, you're not on one of those really, really big boats, but you're on a smaller boat, a little bit more intimate experience. And it's a landing craft, so you can actually get off the boat. Oftentimes there's pieces of ice chunks, icebergs that are on the beaches, so you can get up close and touch that ice. Again, really cool experience to get out in the winter and see the glaciers from a boat.
Hey, Dawn, hold on. Let me tell them something about Kelly.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, I had a friend of mine from high school that's been a client for years and years. They live up in North Carolina, and they said, hey, our niece is getting married in Alaska. And so we put them up in the Alyeska resort. And then they went to, they wanted to do something fun. They were only flying in for the weekend for that wedding. Well, it was early in the season, so everybody wasn't operating. A lot of the suppliers weren't operating yet. I got them. Kelly is the owner of Lazy Otter.
This is her right here on the left left side of this picture. This is her. That's Kelly.
She was so fantastic. Because remember, the weather, when you're not in season, the weather's iffy. Everybody's, you can, in Whittier, remember we talked about how you have to go through the tunnel and there's only certain hours and times that you can go one way through this one-way tunnel. So a lot of moving parts, right? Anyway, it was just so cool because she got, I think I had 13 or 16, somewhere around there, on 2 different days. They were doing, one was doing it the day before the wedding and one group was doing it after the wedding. And she got them all on this tour. And when they got home, I always say, well, how did it go? And all this, that they were like, they went to Blackstone. They said it was the most amazing thing, that every one of them was so bummed they didn't stay longer.
Yeah.
So I was so excited.
That's very common to hear from people, especially in the winter, that they say, I wish I would have stayed longer because I just didn't realize how much there is to do. I mean, there's a lot to do here in the summer, but in the winter, people are often surprised at what there is to see and do as well. And again, that's all with timing as well. If you come for rendezvous and Iditarod, there's a lot going on. But there is a lot of beauty to see no matter what month you come in. So the month that Jen is planning is one of my favorites. So you guys are going to have a really great trip if you book this Alaska tour with her.
Yeah.
Experience are,
Do you mean the winter one?
Yes, the winter.
Yeah. And guys, the Iditarod only happens that week.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not like, oh, let's just decide when we want to go. If you want to do like the Mushers banquet and the kind of stuff we want to do, it has to be that week. So
Yes.
That's why I'm so excited you guys are going, because right when that trip gets finalized, you guys are going to be the very first ones to get the itinerary, like literally before we publish it. So, and they're only giving me so many spots because they don't have unlimited space on stuff like that. So I'm so excited.
It's an incredible trip. And I will tell you that I've never heard anyone say they were disappointed that they came during that time and got to see the Iditarod. So speaking of, that is our state sport. Actually, it's dog mushing. And the cool thing about that is not only that you can't like just watch the Iditarod, but you can actually mush your own dog sled team if you want to. So there's lots of different excursions and activities where you can meet these Iditarod champions. Like these dogs at the kennels that you visit are actually Iditarod dogs. They have raced in the Iditarod or they're going to race in the Iditarod. And you can do some experiences where you actually mush your own dog sled team. So in this picture, the musher is giving instructions on the right. She's giving instructions to 2 of our friends here that are out with us. And then the next thing you know, they're out mushing the dogs. They give you only 5 dogs, so you don't go blazing away, because I promise you 5 dogs can run faster altogether than you have ever imagined. And one of the most important instructions they give you is never to ever let go of the sled or take your foot off one of the brakes. You want to have foot on a brake at all times, because otherwise they're just going to take off. They just love to run. It's like their favorite thing. They get so excited. So getting out there and meeting those dogs, getting out in the woods and seeing some of Alaska that you wouldn't see otherwise is really, really a fun way to experience it. And these dogs, you will be absolutely surprised at how excited they get when they get to go out and run. And one of the best parts, I think, of course, is holding the puppies, because they like to start socializing them at the earliest age possible. In fact, I've been at kennels where we were allowed to hold the puppies before their eyes were even open. So going to visit the dog mushing kennels, whether it's on your summer trip this summer or when you guys come for the Iditarod, this is an absolutely do not miss experience. You want to get out and meet those mushers, talk to them about the dogs, hold the puppies. It will be an experience that you'll never, ever forget.
Now, hang on. Let me tell them I think there's 3 of you guys. Say hi to Tom. He's just
hi, Tom.
I think there's 3 families that are doing the Kinnick River Glacier helicopter tour in Anchorage when you arrive.
Okay.
And can you go back to the picture of the mushing?
Yes. So when you go up on the glacier, that's Cataract Glacier that you're going to go up on. You're actually going to be taken via helicopter, and you're going to meet dogs that belong to Dallas Seavey. Now, Dallas Seavey is the most winningest musher of the Iditarod ever in history. He won it again this year, and he is.
And I got to mush one of his dogs that won that year. It was so cool.
Yeah. So you get transported up to a glacier in the summer. When you come, you can transport up to a glacier, and his dogs specifically are the ones that Alaska Helicopter Tours, they're using his dog teams. His mushers are up there stationed on that glacier all summer. But in the winter, these pictures are actually taken at his kennel. So you go to his house and his dog kennel there, and you mush your own dog sled team. So there is an opportunity to do this at his house. You can do in the summer, you can do dry land dog mushing out of Talkeetna. If you ever come back in the summer and you want to do that, that's available. In the winter, you can mush his dogs at his house with his mushing team. And in the summer, of course, you can go up on the glacier and do that dog mushing, which is absolutely phenomenal.
And if you guys did register to do an excursion with dog mushing, that's not the helicopter tour up to the glacier. That's the only one that's actually on snow, is the one that you fly up to the glacier. But the rest of you guys on the cruise, I know some people signed up for some dog mushing stuff for up in Denali. Those are going to be on what she's talking about, the carts that they run. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but we did like 2 of them while I was with her last year, and it was amazing. Even the dry one, because like she said, those dogs, they are all about running. You know, it's nothing like you're thinking, you know.
Yeah. In the winter, you get to go a little farther because they love the cold weather. You know, you really get that experience of hands-on. In the summer, they're very, very careful about not overheating the dog. So they do stop and let them lay in the shade and let them lay in puddles. And, you know, so yeah, they really do care tremendously for these dogs, and they want to make sure that they're safe and, you know, not getting injured. So last couple of things I'm going to talk to you about. We've talked a little bit about art and history and Alaska Native cultures. What I want you to know is that that stuff doesn't shut down in the winter either. So our beautiful Anchorage Museum, I just love this picture. It's so beautiful. This is in downtown Anchorage in the winter. This is a very snowy day, obviously, in this picture, and it looks like the temperature was pretty cold because we have what's called hoarfrost on the trees. That makes the trees look really, really white, but you can still see all their branches. And of course, you can see off in the distance the smoke. It's not really smoke, it's just steam or heat coming out. You can see of the homes and stuff in the background. You can see the white smoke coming up. So looks like it was probably a little bit of a chilly day that day. But again, our museum is open year round. And so going in to learn about Native cultures and learn about the history of Alaska and look at some of our local art. This is a incredible museum, 10,000 years of history under one roof. And again, it's something to see if you're here in the winter. They change out the exhibits all the time. So if you don't get a chance to see that this summer, coming back next winter and doing something at the museum is definitely a must do. Now, this last winter, they actually kept the Native Heritage Center open. That was available from COVID funds, you know, and different funds that went around. They were able to keep the center open to the public. Normally, the center is closed in the winter to the public, but you can go there on private tours led by different companies like Salmonberry and stuff. But typically, it's not open to the general public, and it sounds like they're going to be open again next winter. So if you're here on the Iditarod fam or the Iditarod trip with Jen, you can go ahead and, you know, plan to visit the Native Heritage Center because it's really fascinating no matter what time of year you visit. Of course, my favorite, the Aviation Heritage Museum. The Alaska Aviation Museum is open year round, and it's right on the shores of Lake Hood, so you can watch planes coming and going on skis in the winter, or of course on floats in the summer. So again, another place to visit if you have extra spare time. It's very near the airport. Now, our wildlife also sticks around in the winter. It doesn't just disappear, and even some surprising things I'll show you here in a second. It's not uncommon to see moose. In fact, it's more common to see moose in the winter because it's very much easier to see them. They're not all covered up and back in the trees where you can't see them. You'll see them on the side of the road. This is right downtown in Town Square Park. You can see the guy walking by on the sidewalk. We see moose literally laying in the park in front of our office all the time. So they're wandering around Anchorage. There's 1,500 of them here in our city. So it's not uncommon to just see a moose wherever you are in the winter. In fact, it's often very, very common to see moose quite often all over the place. They like to walk on the roads because the snow's all gone and it's easier for them to walk there than it is through the middle of the woods. Oh man, I want one of the what Diane's got. So this is the Alaska Zoo, and again, it's open all winter. So really, really fun experiences. And because our zoo only has northern climate animals, they are really out and about in the winter. So if this is something that you might be able to fit into your schedule, Jen, for the group to do, this is guaranteed wildlife sighting right in our city. And they're not all animals that are indigenous to Alaska, but they are all from northern climates. So really fun to get out and see the zoo, the Alaska Zoo, while you're here in Anchorage. And one of my absolutely favorite places to visit, and this is what's going to surprise you at the end of this little section here, of what you can see at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center in the winter. Of course, we have the wood bison, which is the largest land mammal in North America. they have a bunch of them out there, and this is like their favorite time of year is winter, of course, because they have all this thick, heavy fur, and they just love the colder climate temperatures. This is a really cool center that you can visit, and you can walk around, you can drive around. You see in the bottom left here, there's a map of the center. You can see all sorts of different types of Alaskan wildlife. In the winter, they have free kick sleds, so you can kick around the park. Instead of driving, you can get on these kick sleds and kick yourself around the park. It's really, really fun. The moose, of course, love it. You can see the moose hasn't dropped its antlers yet, so you can tell this is probably very early winter. Even though it looks like there's a whole lot of snow right now, this is probably not farther than past December. So I would say this is probably like late November or December, in the month of December, because those moose will lose their antlers. You can still do behind the scenes that you can do in the summer. You can do those in the winter as well, like feeding porcupine or feeding the moose. And this picture is by far one of my favorites. Thank you to this bear who let me take his picture this winter. So the bears wake up a lot in the winter at the Wildlife Center because they know that they can be fed. So on a beautiful sunny day when we were there in March, the bears, all three of them came out and they were wandering around. They looked like they were half asleep because of course they were all groggy and tired. But it is really fun to see the bears out in the winter. So it's not always a guarantee, but you will see guaranteed wildlife there. But it's really, really fun when you actually get to see the bears. The sheep, the Dall sheep, these are along the Turnagain Arm, along the Seward Highway. In the winter, these big rams will come right down next to the road. You can see there's snow on the rocks in this picture. In the summertime, a lot of times you'll see the ewes and the kids down by the road, but in the winter, a lot of times you'll see these rams really, really close to the road. You might see rams up in Denali, but they're going to be very, very high up on the cliffs. They're almost hard to see because they're so far away, but along the Seward Highway this summer and next winter when you're here, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to be able to see a Dall sheep.
Well, and I gotta tell you guys, when Tom and I were out there, we made Dawn stop like 100 times on that Turnagain Arm Road, because the whole time I'm out the window of the car looking.
We did see them, didn't we?
Well, one time they came right down to the road, but the rest of the time they were all like right up there. You could see them. So if you stopped the car, you could like take pictures and we did see them on the Denali Road in, and I'm pretty sure that we'll see them when we go in a couple of weeks, because that one there, it's one of the like ranger stations they take us to is pretty close in, and across the glacier, whatever that big thingy is, they have this big green like flat area, and we can see them through binoculars. So I'm pretty sure we can see them, but that was the only place. We couldn't see them anywhere else. Yeah, sometimes we'll see them way up on the rocks on the way into Denali too. So we'll see them sometimes up on the rock cliffs, but this is another one of my favorite animals up here. This is a muskox. Jen and Tom went with my husband and I out to the muskox farm last summer, and it was really fun. But in the winter, they're so much fun to watch because they love the cold weather. And so because their fur is so warm, they are really active in the winter. In fact, they're out playing, they're pushing their balls and toys and stuff around in the yards and at the farm. And they just really look like they're out there having a really good time. Whereas in the summer, they might be trying to lay in the shade or really trying to relax. But the muskox farm is open year round, and it's a really fun place to go learn about this really cool prehistoric looking animal. It's actually more closely related to a goat than it is to an ox or a cow of any kind. So really fun to go out there and learn about these animals. And this is out in Palmer, the Palmer-Wasilla area. So what we call the Matanuska-Susitna Valley or Mat-Su Valley. And just down the road from the muskox farm is the reindeer farm, and another place that I really love, because how many people actually get right up close and touch a caribou, or in this case, it's a reindeer because there's a fence around them. That really is the major difference. They're domesticated. So it's a caribou that lives inside a fence is what a reindeer is. And it's a fun place to go visit. You actually get to feed the reindeer, and they have other animals on the farm too. So they have just some really neat. You can feed a moose right out of your mouth. You can feed them a carrot. It looks like you're kissing the moose right out of your mouth. They actually have two moose now, Lucy and Rocky, that you can actually kiss. And then of course you can see the animals here just really love being out there in the winter. And I love this place any time of year, but my favorite time to visit is actually in the winter, because there's no bugs here in the winter because they're all gone. And so it's nice to be out and not have to worry about flies or mosquitoes or bees, any of that. And you just get out and really enjoy the animals that love that cold climate temperature. Lastly, we're going to talk about dancing under the northern lights. And again, I mentioned at the beginning,
this is something you will absolutely not be able to see on your trip to Alaska this summer. So if this is on your bucket list, we are in a, so the Aurora, they go in a kind of a pattern. So we're on the up curve right now. It's a curve. So we're for the next 5 years, the Aurora activity is going to be increasing, and then it'll go down. The curve will go down, and then it'll come back up, and it happens. It's a natural thing. But right now, this winter, we saw incredible northern lights, and that means next winter is just going to be more incredible. This picture was taken in September, so you can see there's leaves on the trees. This is out at Kinnick. So this is on the way out to the Kinnick River Lodge. This is very, very close to the reindeer farm. This is about a 30 to 40 minute drive from downtown Anchorage. And you can see that the northern lights are absolutely stunning. The lake is not, or the river's not frozen, the water's not frozen, and you can see there's still leaves on the trees. So I promise you can see them in August, September, all the way through about late April. We did see them at the very beginning of May this year, which is fairly uncommon, but you'd have to be up right at the right time, at the very time of night that it gets just dark enough to see them. This is a picture across Turnagain Arm looking towards Anchorage. So the northern lights in this picture at the very far left side of the mountain range there, that is right above the city of Anchorage. And then you can see the northern lights here spreading across the sky over Turnagain Arm. One thing I will tell you is that when you're going to look for the northern lights, you always have to look north. Because they come off the northern pole. So if you're looking to the south and thinking you're going to see them, it's probably not, unless it's a really, really, really good display that's got them just covered across the sky. You're going to want to be looking north. And when you see the northern lights in this region of Alaska, we tend to have these beautiful mountain backdrops that you're going to see behind them, which is unique to this region, because once you get up into interior Alaska, Fairbanks area and stuff like that, you're not going to have those big mountain peaks in the background. So that is very unique to our region. While we are located on the ocean, we do tend to get more snow and more cloud cover, which makes it impossible to see the northern lights. The tour companies that you can go out with while you're here on this winter trip will take you places that they are going to make sure that you have the best possibility of seeing them. And if there is absolutely no chance of seeing the northern lights on the night that you guys are scheduled, they will cancel the trip and give you your money back. So this is one of them, Alaska Photo Treks. This is Carl, he's the owner. He's actually headed down to Florida with us tomorrow. We're going down to talk to international tour operators. But this is the city of Anchorage from Flat Top Mountain. And you can see here, you can even see the northern lights just in all their glory above the city. So when people say you can't see them in Anchorage, they are 100% wrong. So you can, it's just more likely to see them up in Fairbanks because they tend to have more clear night sky.
Carl is the one that we're talking to from Photo Treks. Thank you for Lines, our big camera people.
Carl Johnson is amazing. And again, he owns Alaska Photo Treks, and he does summer tours as well, like Midnight Sun photo safaris, city photo tours. He does all sorts of photo tours, and it's really cool if you book something like this to book it at the beginning of your trip, because you want to be able to learn how to use your camera to its best ability before your trip so that you get the best pictures possible while you're here. So again, if you have extra time and you get here early, or you want to add something really cool, Alaska Photo Treks is a really good one and Jen can work with him directly for you too. Now, Fur Rondy Festival is when you guys, if you come with Jen in the winter, you're going to get to see the end of the Fur Rondy and the beginning of the Iditarod sled dog race. And the Fur Rondy is the longest running outdoor winter festival in North America. It was initially when the fur traders would come into the city and trade their furs. We still have a live fur auction. They show, of course, I love this picture because it shows the fireworks, which we can't really see on the 4th of July. They do it anyway. I think it's just for the Big Bang, but it's fun to see them in the winter when we can see them during the Fur Rondy Festival and at New Year's. They do Native Alaskan games like the blanket toss that you see here. This was actually not necessarily a game, but now these days it's more of a demonstration. The Native hunters used the blanket toss so that they could throw the hunters high up into the air off these skins that they sewn together. The hunters would go up into the air, jumping and looking out across the ice to see where the animals were that they were hunting for. So these are different types of things that you can see during the Fur Rendezvous. I love this. If you look at the sign behind this gal, you can see what this is. It's the Fur Rondy outhouse races. Now, outhouses are famous in Alaska, but this is just a fun event that they do, kind of sort of poking fun, I think, at outhouses, because a lot of places in Alaska that don't have running water, people have cabins that are dry cabins that don't have running water, and they do have outhouses. But in this case, the outhouses are made specifically for this race. You can see they're on skis of some sort. Here's the person they're competing against over here. But they dress up, they have teams of 4, 2 people are pushing the outhouse. One person is tethered to it by a harness, and then one person is sitting on the pot. And so I think this is just a really fun thing. And you can see right here in the background, the Visitor Information Center, that's right in front of our office here on downtown Anchorage. They spend all winter getting the snow off the streets. And then during Furandi and Iditarod, they bring boatloads of snow back and they put it all on the downtown streets, and they do all these events downtown. They do a fat tire bike race, which is really, really fun. People sometimes get dressed up in costume. And one of my favorite events during Furandi is the running of the reindeer. It's kind of like running of the bulls, but it's running of the reindeer. And these are nice female reindeer that come from the reindeer farm. And you might ask why I know that they're female. Well, they're first because they have their antlers, and the males will lose their antlers. The females won't. So by March, if they have their antlers 9 times out of 10, or probably 9.9 times out of 10, it's a pregnant female, because the pregnant females will not lose their antlers. So you get to run with these beautiful reindeer down the streets, and you don't have to run, you can walk. We had 1,000 people signed up for this, and they do it in heats. So if you're here for the Furandi and you come on Jen's trip and you're here that Saturday after the start of the Iditarod, you can actually do the running with the reindeer. And it's something you're going to want to sign up for in advance. And it's so much fun. And I promise you don't have to run, you can walk. Now, lastly is the Iditarod. It's a do not miss. You can see there right downtown Anchorage. Dog teams take off every 2 minutes. It is a hustle and bustle, and it's just super fun to hear all the dogs excited and barking. They announce every single musher that takes off. They have a big event going on downtown. You can walk around. There's all sorts of street vendors and tents and pop-up things to see. It is just one of the events that you do not want to miss. And you can get more pictures of dog sleds and dog mushing than you'll ever imagine. It just happens, and it goes on and on for a couple hours. And then after that, of course, the Furandi continues. And then the next day is the restart of the race, which your group would probably be going to in Willow, which is the next day. Now, if you really want to chase the race, here's a map of the race. So it starts in Anchorage, they do a little run, and then they restart out in Willow. Now, when I was a kid, the first stop of the Iditarod was actually in Eagle River, where I grew up. And then they would upload the dogs, and the next day restart in Wasilla. And that's simply because there's not really a great way to do the trail anymore between Eagle River and Wasilla. Now they restart in Willow because of snow conditions. It's a little bit better place for them to restart, and they go north. Now, this is showing the southern route of the Iditarod. And then the northern route actually goes up this direction. So every other year they switch routes. On odd years, they're on the southern route. So next year they'll be doing the route that you see here. And this picture of my colleague Tia on the right is her out there chasing the race. So the planes, you can actually get on tours that chase the race, where you get on a small plane and they go out to these different checkpoints, and you can see the dogs coming into the checkpoints and racing all the way up to their final destination, which is Nome. They say it's 1,049 miles, but I really think it's just over 1,000. They just say 49 because we're the 49th state. And this is up on the Seward Peninsula, which is very, very far north. I've never ever in my life gotten to see the end of the Iditarod, but if you are able to stay long enough to actually see the end, I'm sure Jen can arrange that for you too. So again, here's another picture of those beautiful fireworks that we get to see in the winter. The star up on the mountain that is done by our military here in Anchorage, that's up at Arctic Valley. And that's another ski area here in Anchorage where you can actually go inner tubing on a lift assisted inner tubing hill, all sorts of fun things to do and see around the city of Anchorage. And I just think the city skyline is so beautiful in the winter. So that's kind of my spiel on winter. And I hope that not only will you just be totally impressed with Alaska this summer, but so much so that you want to come back in the winter. And when you tell people, hey, I went to Alaska in the winter, boy, let me tell you, are they impressed?
Yeah. Well, and I did you hear how many things you guys, the helicopter tour, all the dog mushing stuff, the reindeer farm, the muskox farm, I mean, we spent, well, of the 5 weeks that I was there, 2 weeks of it were in Anchorage. And between even what Dawn and I did, just our two families going down and camping in Homer and going to Lake Clark and that sort of thing, the number of things that you can do from Anchorage, there's more flights into Anchorage there. That is like the hub, literally. So when you fall in love with it, which we all know you're about to, we're spending a blink of an eye in Anchorage, even if you're staying a couple of days, right? Coming in early, it is the blink of an eye. So if once you fall in love with it, the coming back part, this is the magic that we can help you with, because all of those things around there we can book for you if you're coming in with your family, or you want to bring your kids back, or you want to go even just on an independent, cruise and spend a few days before you go on it. No matter what it is, within that literally couple hours of anchorage, you can hit so much stuff, either north, south, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I loved Fairbanks too, but it is totally different, totally different up there.
Well, and the good thing is that you could do, your Anchorage or your Alaska itinerary. And then if people wanted to add on Fairbanks, of course, you have contacts there that could, put together a really extra special. I mean, going to Fairbanks in the winter, I mean, it is cold. I will tell you. I've lived here my whole life, and I'm used to very mild winter temperatures. My older twins that are 26, they did their undergraduate up in Fairbanks, and it was not uncommon to see 40 below zero. And that is very, very, very cold. We would never see 40 below zero here in Anchorage. Never, ever. It will not happen.
Well, very cool. So just a show of hands, how many of you think you might be interested in a winter trip to Alaska? Any of that appeal to you?
Ooh, that was a maybe,
Cheryl.
I think, Cheryl. What do we got to do here? No, I'm just kidding.
As soon as that shoulder.
I don't know. It sounds fabulous, but it also sounds expensive. So, money is a factor.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that, because especially for you guys, since you've just been there, and the big draw will be that you'll remember a lot of this stuff as we're there. But a lot of it, I think, just to keep that winter cost down, is to do the add-ons. So like if you're going to fly out to the checkpoint of the Iditarod, then you can tack that on. So it helps me keep the trip cost on the lower side. And then if you want to do it, we just build in that time to be able to do it, and you just meet up with us. So I've got a great guy that I'm working with, literally customizing it just the way I want. So I'm so excited. And
that's
I will,
cool, because a lot of the winter experiences are, not as expensive as some of the things that you do in the summer. So like when you're, going dog mushing, you don't have to pay for a helicopter to get you up onto a glacier. You can just go dog mushing in the snow.
Exactly.
And,
it won't be anything like the expense of this trip. I can tell you that. So, so you see, you're already getting a discount.
There you go.
Okay.
And the other thing I forgot to mention was I thought eventually in my presentation, the Ulu factory would pop up, but there's these, there is something that when you come to Alaska and when you get here, and don't do it before you get here, because you want to make sure you get one at the right place in Alaska. You want to get an Ulu knife. Now, I talked Jen into getting one of these, obviously, when she was here. But it's a knife that I use almost every day. It's a knife that was made by, that was invented by the native people of Alaska, and they use it for all sorts of things. I use mine with a special bowl that they make for them, and I cut up my vegetables and we cut meat, and I mean, we use it every day. It actually sits on my countertop with the bowl that it comes with. But when you come to Alaska, you definitely want to get an Ulu knife, and you will see those at the Native Heritage Center. You'll see them at the Anchorage Museum. But one place that we have right here in downtown Anchorage is the Ulu factory. They actually hand make the Ulus and guarantee them for life. So when you visit Anchorage, make sure you take something really special home that you can't just find anywhere. Make sure you get one that's made here in Alaska. And if you have a special friend, someone that you want to take something back to that's really unique to Alaska, an Ulu knife is a great gift. And it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in your luggage, but remember, you absolutely have to pack it in a checked bag. You can't take it on a carry-on.
And it is sharp.
They are very sharp, and you can actually get a little sharpener for them too. That the Ulu factory will sharpen them for you for free, but obviously you don't live here, so you wouldn't be able to just go down and get it sharpened. But I've had mine for about 8 or 9 years now, and I've never had to have it sharpened ever, and it's still super sharp. So
yeah, we love ours. I'm so glad. So thank you for now. No one's allowed to get one until we get there. Okay,
right.
Ulu factory. Yeah.
You got to get it here because there's all sorts of designs and pretty things to choose from.
Yeah. All right. Anybody have any questions for her before we let her go? No? Okay. Well, good. See, I love this. We're covering so many bases, Thank you, Dawn, for showing us. I mean, I love it because I've been there at this time of the year that we're going, and I really cannot wait to see just from all the pictures and the presentations that we've done together in the past. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see Alaska in the dark.
I know and you won't see it in the dark again this year, but it's beautiful. I think Alaska's, I will say that because of the region that we live in and the amount of snow that we get, even though it might be, the sky might be dark, with the moon and the stars and the lights of the city, our snow really does reflect and make it feel not quite as dark. Someone did ask if you can see if the northern lights look that beautiful with the naked eye. And I will tell you that, yes, on a very big show, like some of those pictures that I showed, you absolutely can see them with the naked eye. With the camera, when you take the picture, because your eyes don't see as well at night anyway, just how the cones in your eyes work, the camera will make it look a little bit brighter than what you actually see, but you will be 100% be able to see them with your naked eye. In fact, I see them sometimes driving to work. So
yeah, that's so cool. Well, we sure appreciate your time, and I'm super excited to get to see you just all by myselfish, but the fact that we get to get our families together again, I'm looking forward to that. So you guys remember, I'm really trying to talk her into, she's a hot commodity. She's hard to get a hold of on a short, limited amount of notice, but I'm trying to get her to go to dinner with us on the evening of July 5th, when all of you guys, Lord willing, if all the flights are good and everything, July 5th is when everybody should be in by, if you're getting in around dinner time. If not, no worries. But
I just put it in my calendar.
Yeah,
it's on there.
Possible. I'm trying to get her to go to the 49th State Brewing Company, I think is what we were shooting for. And we're going to make her pull some strings because it's hard to get a reservation in there. But I
just need to know how many people, and I'll be on it.
Yeah. So then that would be a great thing if you guys can just message me and let me know, because I don't know everybody's flight times and everything yet. So that way I'll get an idea. I know if it's late or canceled or delayed or anything, I know you will be blowing up my phone, which is totally good. But if you can let me know what you're scheduled to come in, that would be great, because then I'll know if y'all want to do dinner with us. I can put you down for the reservation. So feel free to text me and let me know. I know that a couple of you have your helicopter tour that day. So depending on weather and things like that, you might not be able to join us, or might be flying in at the last minute to join us coming back from that, but we will figure it out. So I'm just so excited. Only a couple weeks to go. So thanks for being with us, Dawn. And you guys, we have 2 more weeks. We'll do our last pre-trip class. That one is kind of an open format. We don't have any set things we're going to be covering. One more thing, I was going to say, we'll cover updates, anything that comes in. It was just posted. You guys should have all gotten it, that Princess made a change with the COVID restrictions. So effective like 2-3 days ago, they sent out a notice saying that going into your cruise tour, you need to have a negative COVID test now, which means that before you fly out, you're going to need to get one. It has to, it lists on that paper. Did everybody get it? The email that came through? So it lists on that paper what kind you have to get and how many days ahead you have to get it. I'll remind you again when we do our pre-trip class in 2 weeks, but you want to make sure that you schedule that a little bit ahead of time. And I went ahead, just so you know, because I know this is going to be a question, and it's usually on all of our trips, the biggest stressor, just so you know, is we aren't sure what's going on with the COVID testing for leaving. So the cruise line normally does not cover that when you're leaving them to go, and we land in Vancouver. So what I did is I ordered the telemed ones that you can actually do with Wi-Fi. So it's not the ones that the government gave you. It's not the ones that you buy at Walgreens and just do it on your own. It has to be a telemed one. So I can send you the link for it. But I ended up buying a 6-pack for my in-laws and our family. And that we're taking those with us as a backup. So if I'm not able to get a COVID test,
I just ordered mine today.
Yeah.
I have to go to Mexico City.
Yeah, they're so great, you guys, because if you don't use it for this trip, you can use it for any other trip, as long as they don't expire, because they have an expiration date on them. They're totally good. And I've had so many clients use them all over the world, Italy, Spain, doesn't matter. You just hop on with Wi-Fi and they get right on there, watch you do the test, wait for it to clear, and then you're good to go. So I'll send you the link out for that one, but it might be a lot easier than stressing and trying to find someplace in Vancouver when we only have short notice. Okay. So just keep your eye on it. Remember that they are on it, trying to get rid of COVID requirements. So I doubt they're going to do it in the next 2 weeks, but they absolutely could. So we'll just stay on it and see what they tell us. And remember that as of right now, everybody on the 12-day trip that's going up to Denali, they are handling our pre-COVID testing that we need for the cruise ship on the 9th. So all we have to worry about is the coming and the going. Okay. So,
Yeah,
all right.
not coming into Alaska, but getting on the ship is when you need it. So you need it the day before you get on the ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us tonight. Those of you that are coming to the in-person gathering on Saturday, if you're not coming, we will miss you. We won't have any fun without you. But if you can make it, look at Diane's already pre-gaming. So we're going to have some fun Alaska cocktail samples for you and some fun Alaska appetizers. And it'll just be a fun chance to get to say hi to some of the travelers. So if you aren't able to join us because you live out of the area, like I said, we aren't going to have any fun without you. But I promise any goodies or anything, nobody's going to miss out on a thing. I'll take good care of all of you. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.